Howdy, folks. Episode 15, Great Canadian Fight Show back in your life. I'm getting smoked in the rankings here, going head to head with my co-host, the brilliant Kyle. So I thought I'd bring out a different version of me here in order to spark something going into a major card this weekend. But first, the introductions again. I'm one half of your Fight Show hosts, Alex Dowdesell, reporting live from beautiful Calgary, Alberta, home of the first place Flames. And as usual, I'm joined by my co-host, the brilliant Kyle Allen, reporting from beautiful Vancouver, BC. How we doing tonight, partner?
Doing pretty good. Wish the Canucks were doing better, but we're repping the Canucks over here. Doing good, man. Doing good as usual. Everything's great.
To the Vancouver faithful as well, I do have deep roots in Vancouver, so I got to give a shout out to an all-time legend, Big Dog, Big Bird Bertuzzi. Played one season for the Flames, and I got his jersey for a good price. So let's get into it. Islam Makhachev went toe-to-toe against Bobby Green on a very, very short notice at a catch weight of 160 pounds this weekend. This was the main event, and as usual, we're here to break it down for you. Kyle Allen, bit of a lackluster main event. I mean, it went as everybody predicted it was going to go. Take me through a quick analysis of the fight and what you thought of Mr. Makhachev this weekend.
Yeah, as usual, dominant performance by Makhachev. Surprise, surprise. Bobby Green, he looked good early on. Like he landed a few shots on him. I remember there's one stat that he might have landed the most like significant strikes on him. Like I could be totally wrong, but anyways, yeah, he did land some good shots. And but when he went for that guillotine, it was kind of his demise, and that's where Makhachev began and finished it.
Oh, indeed, he looked good. A minus 1,000. So to say he was a heavy favorite, understatement. But he looked great tonight. Fully utilized the wrestling. Where do we see him go from here, Kyle? I mean, do you think he gets a title shot?
I personally don't think he should get a title shot. I think they should rebook that Dariush fight, which apparently it's in talks. I know Oliveira's probably tied up with Gaethje, I think in May, if I'm correct, they're doing the fight. April or May, I can't remember. But that leaves the summer open for a big fight versus Dariush and Makhachev, and that would definitely be for the true number one contender. I think that's what they should do. And I think it's what the UFC will do.
Ooh, Lord have mercy. Love to see that. That's the one we wanted. We didn't want to see Green. We want to see Makhachev versus Dariush. You're right. That's the number one contender fight as long as Dustin Poirier is unsure. We're unsure about his future, but we hope to see it. Quick trivia, because we're going to do things a little bit different this show by going into Kyle's random top fives, which are going to be happening throughout this episode. Kind of catching you off guard here, buddy. But as we discussed, Makhachev fully utilizing his wrestling in a smothering offense to take control of Bobby Green and finish the fight via TKO, was it that he won by?
TKO, yeah.
Yes,
ground
TKO by mauling. Give me your top five wrestlers all time, UFC history, and tell me where Makhachev, might potentially rank amongst those top five.
Let me take a quick run down memory lane here. We'll start at some of the earlier fighters. So we'll go with a classic Randy Couture. He was a little bit more into like the dirty boxing and holding up against the cage, and once he got some fighters there, like he was pretty dominant. Then you'd get him to the ground, and I think a lot of people know Randy Couture's resume. Secondly, I would say going further down, I'd go like Matt Hughes. Matt Hughes being pretty dominant on, always dominant on the ground until he ran into my next pick, which would probably be GSP. Matt Hughes was pretty dominant up until he ran into GSP, and then GSP was kind of the new truth in the welterweight division. Going one up from there, then I would say you got Khabib, and you got Usman. Those would be probably my top five top wrestlers. There's a few other ones like you could probably throw like Covington in there. Like he's a pretty crazy wrestler, but those are round in my top 5.
Okay. And then how do you think Makachev would fare against any of these guys? Do you think he's at this level yet in terms of all-time, maybe just outside of your top 5 potentially, but eyeing in?
I think just outside, but it depends what he does. Like if he goes in and wins the title and then goes on a dominant like reign, I think that's the only way he could be better than Khabib. Did I throw Khabib in my top 5?
You did not. I was getting ready to chirp you for that one.
Yeah. Maybe I'm sorry. Maybe I would who did I say for my last one? I said Usman.
We had Randy Couture, we had Matt Hughes,
Yeah.
we had GSP, we had Usman, and we had Khabib.
Yeah. Khabib would be, I think the Khabib and Usman are kind of interchangeable, but yeah, if Islam can go on a run and he can win the belt and then have like a dominant championship reign at lightweight, then you can mark him down as probably the greatest lightweight of all time.
Totally agree. Does he have enough to beat Oliveira if that's what they choose to do next? Because his camp, spoiler alert, folks, they did not book RDA versus Makachev. It's going to be RDA versus Renato Moicano next weekend, with Makachev's camp putting the kibosh on it, vetoing, as they say in the technical terms. So it looks like they're gunning for that championship shot. When he does face Oliveira, how does he do?
That is a very interesting matchup that to be honest, I don't know what happened. Just because Oliveira is so good off his back. You've never really seen like, it's kind of what we wanted to see in the Tony Ferguson versus Khabib. Like those are the questions we wanted answered. Yes. So this is basically Khabib, Tony Ferguson 2.0 if this fight happens. Because I don't know, like he has super good submission skills. He's submitted people off his back before.
Yeah.
And, he's not afraid to be on his back. Like most of these fighters that Khabib ran through, they're not good on their back. And like Poirier, like who was the best fighter that Khabib fought on his back? There's no one really like notable that was good on their back. Connor was probably like the best off his back, I guess, but not much challenge.
Yeah, probably Poirier. Poirier is the only high level jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, he got him in the guillotine and kind of almost took him out. But yeah, so it's a very interesting matchup, and I don't know who would win that fight, to be honest. I'm very curious to see how Oliveira does in his next fight, and if he runs through Poirier, kind of like he did if he runs through Gaethje like he did Poirier. I don't know. I think that's going to be a closer. I would think Makhachev would be the slight favorite still in that fight, but it's closer than people think, I think.
Not to mention Oliveira, he just looks to be in some kind of a zone right now. Like he's in the prime of his career. He's really been one of these like true journeyman fighters, and he's just hitting his stride right now. Like his performance against Dustin Poirier was one for the ages. I mean, that shocked a lot of people. Were ready to crown Poirier weeks before that fight.
Yeah.
So indeed, we're excited to see it, whether it's Dariush, which we on the show, of course, hope it's Dariush, but whether it's Dariush or Oliveira, we look forward to seeing him, Makhachev, like in action next, because he is great. He's really a Khabib 2.0 with some great striking. How about him starting the fight with a head kick, Kyle? I mean, this guy, he's made some serious work to his grappling. Before we move on to the main, why don't you touch on Makhachev's improvement in the striking game too?
Yeah, I think this is where he had the advantage over Khabib in like the standings is if he can become a very good striker as well. You saw Khabib kind of getting better towards the end of his career, like when he fought McGregor, even Poirier. Like his striking was decent, but yeah, Islam seems like he's a little bit more comfortable with the striking. And that's a scary thought when you have someone that good on the ground that can be that good at striking too. It's talk about complete fighter. That's what it is.
Talk about a complete fighter. Again, congratulations to Islam Makhachev. It's not easy to have an opponent switch on you at the last minute like that. So even though it's not entirely what we wanted to see, he comes out, finishes him, 3 minutes and 23 seconds into round number 1, exactly the way you dried up. So congratulations to him. We move on to our main event of the evening with a Canadian, Misha Cirkunov, coming up just short against Brazilian Wellington Thurman, losing via second round submission. Cirkunov looking very big, very strong, but a little bit slow, in my opinion. I mean, do you think this was a case of the Canadian having a bad night, or is Wellington Thurman someone that we should be aware of here?
Yeah, I haven't really heard of Wellington Thurman until this fight, actually. So I'm curious to see how he does. But yeah, he got him in submission in round 2 and took him out. Where Cirkunov he's always a tough guy to fight. Like, he's kind of a win one, lose one kind of fighter, or win a couple, lose one fighter. But always a threat. And yeah, he just looks a little bit slower than usual. I don't know if it maybe had a tough weight cut or something like that, but he is a bigger guy, so hard to say.
It is hard to say again. A couple of unranked fighters, but again, Wellington, he did a great job of being quick and slick on his feet. He does have a win against Sam Alvey, who recently had a pretty good performance against Kyle's lost brother at birth, Brendan Allen. But yeah, I mean, this was not much to be made in this fight, just that we hope to see Wellington Thurman soon against someone of a bit higher level in striking, perhaps. Do you have anything else you'd like to add to this fight, Kyle?
No, it wasn't. Like, the first round I feel like was decently close, but yeah, he got him down the second, submitted him, and not really much else to say.
Well, I'm going to put you on the spot again, Mr. Allen, the brilliant. We talked wrestling in the last one. Now we're in the middleweight department, where striking kind of seems to be the discipline of choice, as you'd say, in the middleweight division. So why don't you give us your top 5 middleweights strikers of all time?
All middleweights. Well, there's only one number 1 that everyone's going to say, and it's definitely Anderson Silva.
Excellent.
Then going down the list, I'm just trying to think of some middleweights. Obviously, I'd put Israel Adesanya in there. He could probably be number 2 nowadays. Like, he's that good. He's very Anderson Silva-esque. Thinking of like the strike force days in middleweight, I would throw Luke Rockhold in the mix. His striking back in the day was really good. And I know later in his career his chin kind of failed him, and he was a very powerful, like, good striker.
Absolutely.
Another one down the list. I'm trying to think of a few off the top of my head. I know Anderson Silva kind of took him out, but Rich Franklin back in the day, I feel like Rich Franklin was a very good striker in the middleweight division. And my last one.
So I totally agree with your selection, Kyle. I mean, I would have Michael Bisping in there as a top 5, just as a fan favorite. And over Luke Rockhold, I'd probably put in Robert Whittaker, because again, I think he's a brilliant striker, even though I know it's not his primary discipline. I don't believe. Could be dead wrong on that one. But he's had a good run, and I feel like if he wasn't born in the same era as Israel Adesanya, he'd be the head honcho in that division right now. So what rounds up your top 5?
Trying to think. I know what's his name was in middleweight for a while. Vitor Belfort, like in his debut, I think he was at 185. So you could throw him in there. He was like one of the original, like, crazy strikers in the UFC.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, you're probably right. Robert Whittaker is probably in there, and I might put him on my top 5.
Shout out to TRT Belfort. Not that other guy.
Yeah, exactly.
You want the one who's juiced to the gills, who's peeing acid.
Yeah.
But anyways, thus we move on. Again, congratulations to Wellington Thurman, winner by second round submission. We are looking forward to seeing him next. So good luck to him. We move on to the women's. We're going to be real quick on this one, folks, because this was a pretty lackluster fight. Priscilla Cachoeira wins via unanimous decision against the favorite Ji Yeon Kim. She was just bigger. Kim just wasn't doing a whole lot in this fight. So the zombie girl, Priscilla, wins. We look forward to seeing her next in a division that is, again, wide open for the taking. Kyle, you had Cachoeira, so I'm going to let you have final say on this fight if you'd like to take it. The floor is yours, my friend.
Yeah, she looked, not knowing much about her going to this fight, she looked really good. It was a pretty close fight. Like Jeon Kim did pretty good in like the I think the second round. Like I think it was probably like 2 rounds to 1. Was it a unanimous decision or was it a split decision?
It was a unanimous decision, yes.
Yeah, I feel like maybe you could have given this fight a split decision, but yeah, Cachoeira did what she needed to do, and she looked really strong at times and really powerful. Maybe could work on the gas tank a little bit, but yeah, I'm very interested to see her in the women's flyweight division.
I would say a little reckless too,
Hmm.
unless that was a part of the game plan, because maybe she didn't feel a threat from Kim. But against a more seasoned striker, like she's got to be careful, because some of those shots, like I don't know if you heard the announcers calling it, but they were saying they saw that shot coming from the booth. Like it was just, there was no like faking. It was just like, so she's got to work on that. But regardless, congratulations to her. Priscilla Cachoeira comes in and does what she's got to do. Women's flyweight, again, outside of the top 3, definitely up for the taking. So if she can string together a few wins, we may be seeing a lot more of Priscilla Cachoeira in the near future. We move on to a lightweight bout where this wasn't the fight of the night for me, but it was definitely the great Canadian performance of the night. Arman Tsarukyan, he looked fantastic, Kyle. I mean, I know Makhachev, this is his night, but man, what did you make of Arman Tsarukyan coming in against a huge Joel Alvarez and making it look easy?
Yeah, first off, he's got a super sweet name, Tsarukyan, kind of like a street fighter, like Tsarukyan.
Tsarukyan.
Yeah, he looked good. This was definitely like one of the bloodier fights I've seen in a while. Yeah, once he got on the ground and he hit him with a nasty elbow to open up Joe Alvarez's nose.
Yeah.
And props to Joe Alvarez. He stayed into it. You see, he wanted to be in that fight, even though he was covered in blood and getting beat up. But yeah, Tsarukyan looks good. He is an interesting. I'm telling you, some of these guys coming up in the lightweight division, like I've spoken on before, that the lightweight division in a couple of years is going to be very interesting, I think. Like I know Makhachev's kind of like the favorite probably in this division to take out some of these old guys that have been there for a little while, like the Poiriers, the Gaethjes and stuff like that. But once he's up there, these killers are going to start coming up there for him. And it's going to be a very interesting division in the next couple of years.
Couldn't agree more, Kyle. And I got a little tidbit here that might make your nipples a little hard, because I know that you like stories, and I know that you like especially revenge stories. Folks, we look back to the date of April 20th, 2019. It was a different time. There was no COVID. You could go out and have as many people as you wanted in the restaurant. You could go and sit in a packed arena and not have to worry about the next guy breathing on you. But this was also the night where Islam Makhachev faced Arman Tsarukyan and handed Arman Tsarukyan the only loss of his career. Since that day, Kyle, he's been able to put together 5 straight wins, the last one against larger lightweights. Folks, could we see a revenge bout in the near future? What does your gut tell you, Kyle Allen? Let me get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I didn't. To be honest, I didn't know that. Like, I should have probably looked into it more and looked up who he's lost to. But that makes it even more interesting. You love to see those fights where the guy loses and he learns a lot, gets a bunch of wins together, and then eventually challenges to the title. Oliveira is a great example of that. Like, he had a lot of fumbles in the beginning of his career, and he was able to put it together later in his career, and then look at him now. So yeah, that's very interesting story. Thank you for digging that one out of the dirt.
That's what I do. I dig things out of dirt. But anyways, Arman Tsarukyan, what a performance. The guy's got his strengths. He's a wrestler. He controlled him, ground and pound for the finish, beat up Joel Alvarez. I mean, this is not a guy that anybody in the top 15 would want to face. I mean, he's a wild card and he looks really good. So he's my great Canadian performer of the night. We'll move to the last fight here, and then Kyle Allen, you can give us yours. So again, congratulations to Arman Tsarukyan. He picks up the win over Joel Alvarez. Again, second round TKO at 1:57. We move now to the opener. Arman Petrosyan versus Gregory Rodriguez. This was a split decision. The typical damage versus quantity of output. I mean, Arman Petrosyan got the call, but do you think this has a potential for a robbery, or did you agree with the decision, Kyle?
This fight was a close fight. I feel almost could have been a draw. It was probably, in my opinion, probably the fight of the night. Like, it was the most close contested fight, and yeah, I could see them giving him Petrosyan. Again, I always talk about it. Like, I don't know why the UFC or why the judges can't just do more draws. Like, I know it's not as juicy and entertaining when it's a draw, but if it's a legit draw and that close of a fight where you can't really score it, then just give it a draw.
Ooh, draw, wimpy. Split decision, hefty. I disagree with you, man. I think for these fights, with all due respect, there's not a whole lot of marbles on the line here. So yeah, I think you just got to award a winner. And in this case, I think Petrosyan pulled it out. Just, hey, I mean, there's a set of rules that we got to judge these fights by, right? So if only those rules also applied to the Whitaker versus Adesanya fight a couple of weeks ago. Hey-o! But anyways, Petrosyan, he wins. Again, a dominant striking performance. Again, in these middleweights here. Do you see him as someone that could maybe make a run at a top 15 opponent next?
I don't know if he's quite up there yet. Let me just bring up the rankings here real quick. Don't have them on top of my computer here, but let me. Yeah, the bottom part of the middleweight division is the whole middleweight division has a lot of like really good fighters, which is basically from 1 to 15. Like, obviously, Adesanya being the champ, Whitaker being number 1, but number 15 is Chris Weidman. Like, I know he was out with an injury, a major injury, but man, if your 15th guy is Chris Weidman, that's a pretty crazy division. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know when Chris Weidman's planning to do a comeback, but you're going to have to give him a warm-up fight. So if he somehow makes a comeback this year, that could be an interesting fight for Chris Weidman's comeback.
A tune-up fight for Chris Weidman. I like it. Okay, well, that puts a bow on the UFC Fight Night, Makhachev versus Green, which took place last Saturday night. Kyle Allen, it's that time of the show, baby. It's time for you to give us your great Canadian picks for performance of the night and fight of the night. Let's hear them, baby.
Fight of the night, like I said, it's probably that fight, the middleweight fight, Petrosyan versus Rodriguez. Again, in my opinion, I think it was the most contested fight, the closest fight. That's what I kind of look for in a fight of the night, is something that's close, something that's somewhat exciting. And yeah, that's the only one that really, like, maybe the women's fight was pretty close too, so that could have been fight of the night. But I'm gonna give it to that fight. And then for my performance of the night, it's hard to not give it to Islam, but I'm not going to, just because of, if he was fighting Dariush and he did the same thing, I'd be like, for sure, fight of the night. But since it was a short notice fighter coming in, I'm going to give it to Arman Tsarukyan. Attaboy,
Kyle. Way to show some brass balls. I like it. That's why you're my guy. I totally agree with you. We like to disagree on this show to stir a debate, but I totally agree with you. It was Petrosian. That was the fight of the night, and it was Arman Tsarukyan. He's the performance of the night. So shout out to those guys. And we look forward to seeing both those guys in action very, very soon. Let's get into our picks for next weekend, because we got a doozy next weekend now. It's not the big pay-per-view card that you'd like, but the main event has a story behind it, which we love. And we're going to get into it real quick with our picks. We're not going to go into the fights too much because we got the reaction show next weekend. But we're going to get into our picks here. And starting with the opening fight on the card, which is Sergey Spivak versus Greg Hardy, the returning Greg Hardy. In a heavyweight bout, Vegas has Sergey Spivak at the -190 favorite, while Greg Hardy is a +160. And these are the stats that I'm taking off of the UFC website. Kyle Allen, since you've been absolutely shredding my ass this weekend in these picks, I'm going to let you have first pick here of the pay-per-view.
Yeah, this is an interesting matchup. I'm going to go with Spivak on this one, but I think it's a closer fight than it could be. Like, Greg Hardy is a powerful dude. If he can land on Spivak, I think he's going to sleep, to be honest. But I think if Spivak is crafty and can kind of avoid his big punches and maybe take him down, I think Greg Hardy's not going to stand too much of a chance. But close matchup that I think is closer than the odds put it at.
I agree, except for your pick. I'm going with Hardy. It's hard to say. He had a pretty bad KO last fight. Was his last fight against Tai Tuivasa, I think, right?
Yeah, correct.
So it's been a little while. He took a big shot in that one, but he's a football player. He's tough. And I'm taking Greg Hardy to come back with the big knockout victory over, I believe, the older Spivak. So I'm going Hardy. Next fight on the card, we've got Kevin Holland versus Alex Cowboy Oliveira. I got first dibs on this one, and I'm going with the trailblazer, Kevin Holland. He's a heavy favorite. He's coming off losses against wrestlers, some of them short notice fights. So I'm going with Holland to take this one.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with you. I'm going to go with Holland on this one too. I think this is going to be more of a striking fight, unless Oliveira decides to take him down the whole fight and challenges wrestling, then maybe could still be a close fight. But I think Kevin Holland's going to make some adjustments, and he's going to. I think this fight could potentially be fight of the night. They're both tough guys. Oliveira's always a dog. He's always in the fight. So this could be. I'm going to call it right now. This is going to be my Great Canadian fight of the night.
Da-da-da, da-da-da. I like it. You heard it here first, folks. That's the one you want to tune into. The brilliant Kyle is rarely wrong, but we both take Kevin Holland there. Next one, co-main event. We've got a featherweight bout. Nope, not the co-main event. The main event. Just made that up. That's awful. I'm sorry, Kyle. We've got Edson Barbosa. We've got Edson Barbosa versus Bryce Mitchell. And if you didn't know, he's from Arkansas, folks, and he likes to rep Arkansas. Kyle Allen, you get the first dibs on this one. Who you got, my man?
Yeah, Edson Barbosa is always a tough opponent. He's had a few fumbles in the last bit of his career, last few fights, but still a very, very tough and good opponent. But I think Bryce Mitchell's young. He's good. I think he's going to take Edson Barbosa out via ground and pound, and he's going to have some sweet camo shorts. Yeah, check those out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you too. I am Bryce Mitchell all the way in this one. I mean, he's really good, and I think again he comes through with a very, very good performance. Submission artist, so I say he does it again by submission. And yeah, again, those are the best shorts in the game. I mean, they got to be, right?
Yeah, and he trains like at his farm and like lifts like wood above his head, and like it's great. I always love those stories where they like kind of like the Rocky stories where he's so working out in the streets and doing stuff like that. That's stories you love.
You're gonna eat lightning and crap thunder. Yeah, we love it. Again, we're all in on Bryce Mitchell, and hope to get him on the show one day, maybe on the Great Canadian Fight Show. Get a little bit of a cross country going on there, which we'd love to see. We move on to the co-main, which we were teased. It was going to be RDA versus Makhachev. I was so excited. I was like, this was like, telling Santa Claus that you want to get a PS3 or something like that, and it doesn't show up under your Christmas tree. Kyle, we're stuck with Renato Moicano, which is still exciting. We got RDA versus Renato Moicano at a catch weight. I think RDA is going to do it. I'll take RDA in this one. Who you got in this one, buddy?
I'm going to rival you on this one. I'm going to go with Moicano. I think RDA has been out for a long time, but Moicano looked good in his last fight. I think he's going to be coming with some momentum from his last fight, and I think he's going to get it done that night. I don't know if I don't think he's going to finish him. If he does, I think it's going to be via submission. But I see this fight maybe being a decision.
I see it being a decision as well. Both guys very grappling minded, and RDA has been a while. 2020 November since his last fight, so long layoff. But I'm still going with RDA. I still think he pulls it out again via decision. And this is the one that we're excited here, folks. Best friends, roommates, turn bitter rivals. The kind of stuff that makes a great Canadian Fight Show fan just get weak at the knees. We got Colby Covington versus Jorge Masvidal. Huge fight this weekend. Somehow they got Colby Covington a minus 320, which I think is absolutely crazy. But Mr. Allen, who is your pick for this main event?
This is a tough one to pick, to be honest. I thought of this all week and thinking about who I want to pick and why I want to pick them. I think it's a much closer fight than the odds put it at. Like, I think it's more of like not even. Maybe Colby Covington should be the slight favorite, just with his wrestling. But yeah, what a story this fight is. Former training partners. You saw some of the trash they talk about each other and like who's telling the actual truth in the story, and it's very interesting. And Colby obviously playing his super awesome character and just talking the ultimate trash. But Masvidal looks very composed at the weigh-ins, which is interesting. Like, he doesn't seem like it's affecting him at all, and he just wants to go in there and kill Covington. I'm going to pick Covington just because I think he's going to impose his wrestling on him. He's going to take him down, kind of do what Usman did to him in the first fight, kind of hold him up against the cage, put his pressure on him. But you never know. If Masvidal gets any sort of slick combination on him, it could be night-night. You saw Covington how when Usman clipped him and stuff like that. So it's a tough one. It's a tough one to pick, but I'm going to go with Covington.
Yeah, I mean, he's a heavy favorite for a reason. They've Masvidal, as many of you know, he started his career as a lightweight and he moved his way up to welterweight. So it wasn't always his natural division, but I'm going to go with Gamebred this weekend. I just think he knows Covington really well. He's coming off a bad loss. He wants to reassert himself as a contender in the welterweight division. And I think in the first 2 rounds, we're going to see a baptism, my man. And it's not going to be Masvidal. It's going to be Covington being baptized. So I got Masvidal. I'm going to run it through again. In the first fight, Sergey Spivak versus Greg Hardy. Kyle Allen took Spivak. I took Hardy. We both take Kevin Holland in that second fight. We both take Bryce Mitchell in the third fight. Kyle Allen takes Renato Moicano in the co-main. Yours truly takes RDA. And in the main event, we are split once again. I'm going with George Masvidal, and Kyle Allen goes with Colby Covington. I'm going to say as well, we're going to put a little something on the line for this weekend's card, because I know you're smoking me in the overall rankings. But we're throwing something down this weekend. So I'm throwing the challenge to you, my man, on air. Loser pick has to do a dare of the winners choosing. What do you say?
I mean, we'll have to do a good one for the ultimate loser of the most cards, because I'm up on that one. But a little friendly side bet, never hurt nobody.
And live on the next show, do we do it live?
We can do it live. Why not? Why not?
Let's do it live. All right. Well, that puts a bow on another episode of the Great Canadian Fight Show, analyzing Makhachev versus Green. Again, we're very, very excited for this weekend's pay-per-view, UFC 272, Covington versus Masvidal, which is happening this weekend, Saturday night. And we're very excited for the breakdown next weekend. As usual, if you like our show, like and subscribe, and leave some comments if there's anything that you think that we missed, or if there's anything that you think that we should further talk about. I'm now going to give the platform to my co-host Kyle to leave us with Kyle's final words.
Yeah, like tune into these fights. This weekend's going to be a interesting fight, and this podcast is always evolving. We're always thinking about adding new things in. If anyone has any comments of things they want to see, or what stuff we want to cover and stuff like that, then definitely leave some comments, like and subscribe, obviously, and we're going to keep pumping out episodes and see where this thing goes.
Let's see where it goes. One more thing as well, if you like the show and you like the content, look us up on Instagram at Great Canadian Fight Show 2022. The Great Canadian Fight Show is our page. We're going to have weekly snippets of our show on YouTube, along with some MMA news for those of you, so you can stay on top of what's going on and what's important that you should know about in the MMA world. Of course, we give some shine to our Canadian fighters as well. Thank you very much, folks. We wish you a safe and happy evening, and thank you very much for tuning in. Kyle Allen, it's been a pleasure talking fights with you, my man.
As always.
Yippee-ki-yay!
Go Canucks. They're going to make the playoffs. It's going to be a good time.
Woo! You know what it is.
All right. Take it easy, guys.